G'day, welcome to Pay It Forward. Little Chia has decided to join us for a few moments. I think she's interested in today's tutorial, which is one she's been eyeing off for a few days. It's little kitty that you requested that I make up after making up the little bunny the other week. So I've got him all ready to go. Chia's hoping to score him after the video. She's mistaken. Anyway, in the description below you'll find a free pattern. Of course, all you need to do is click on that link, download those templates, and let's get sewing. So let's see what we need to make our little kitty today. First of all, we need our main body pieces. So a front and a back. They both have fusible interfacing applied. I've chosen a nice bold dark print. The little kitties look good in a slightly darker print, but again it can be quite busy. Like I've got with this one, I used a little check on this one, and as you can see, little bunny here made up in the same way with a very busy little print. And you'll also need your little face piece, which is cut from felt and has fusible webbing applied to the back, or what you might call heat and bond, and that has our little eye placements on it. And you will need, if you want to add a little heart, which I'm going to with this little one, little ear pieces. These are all felt with fusible web applied. You can use fabrics for these. I just like the look of the felt. I like embroidering on the felt. And you'll also need a base piece for the bottom so that this little dolly will stand up nicely. So I happen to have a teddy bear wooden disc that suits, but I've given you the template to cut out that one in a nice strong cardboard, just so that that base is nice and flat. And we also need the same piece cut out of just a piece of interfaced felt, which is going to be going on the bottom afterwards, just to finish that off nicely. And you'll need a little tiny piece for the nose. We're going to be covering that with a few stitches. And you'll need extra strong sewing thread and some embroidery threads. I'll be using my Gutermann top stitching threads. And you will need some polyester filling. So let's get started. And our first job is we're going to fuse into place our little ear pieces. Now remember that we're going to be sewing a seam around there, so we don't want those too close. So you can actually drop them down a little way. You can see that there. And this little one, the very center of that little template, sits just 1 3/4 centimeters from the top here. It's important that we put it exactly there so that it sits in the right position when the little doll is all made up. So we press that one into place, and then your little heart just sits just off center. I just like to tilt it on the side a little and press that one all into place with a hot iron and a protective cloth. There I have all my little pieces pressed on nicely, and I didn't mention before that we also need something for the eyes. I'm going to be using little safety eyes, and you can use little tiny buttons if you prefer. If you're using safety eyes, it will make the whole project suitable for a little baby to play with. And they are just 6mm, those eyes that I've chosen. So moving ahead, there's a few ways that we can sew these on. Now you can make this project really quick by taking it to the machine and sewing in matching threads very, very close to the edge of each of those shapes. And it does look lovely when it's done on the machine. Just watch your curves and make sure it's all neat and tidy. Alternatively, you can do what I've done here with this little kitty, and you can sew a blanket applique stitch on those shapes, which is what I'm going to be doing with this little one. And so I've got my black Gutermann thread. Of course your colour choice will depend on your little pattern project colours. Now I'm just coming in, now when I start a blanket applique stitch with any sort of little piece, I always try and start in a less conspicuous spot. I wouldn't start, you know, right at the top here where our eye seems to hit. So down at the bottom there, I've got a knot in one end. Now if you haven't sewn the blanket applique stitch before, I've got a video that shows you exactly how to do that, and it shows you in great detail, and I'm going to pop that link up there for you. Otherwise, we just come out right on the edge. We'll just do a couple of stitches here. I'm going to keep them quite small. It's only about 3 to 4 millimeters. And I go through and I come out again on the edge. So I've taken some of that underneath fabric through the felt, and of course our needle comes out through the loop. And there is our first stitch. Our next one, make sure that you keep them nice and even. Out onto that edge again, pull that one through the loop, and you can see that's going to make that lovely little binding edge that will follow all the way around. Make sure when you're working on a little shape like this that you're turning your work as you're working so that your stitches are just going nicely straight out. So I'm going to stitch around that little face shape and then around the little ears and the little heart shape, and then we'll come back and add the facial features. So there I have all of my stitching done, and you can see now that what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've taken a very fine marker, because I'm going to be sewing over these lines in a black thread, and I have marked in my 2 little eyelashes either side. You can see here, and they're just done with a single stitch, which I will do with my black extra strong thread. And I've also marked in, I've pressed on his little nose, and I have marked in his little mouth line. Now you can trace off what I've given you on the template if you like, or perhaps you can just form your own little mouth line there. But where that little nose sits, the top of that little nose is 3 centimeters from the very top of that template. That's exactly where that one sits. And this little section here of his lip is just 5 millimeters or half a centimeter, and then you just make your little curls. So I'm going to make those stitches by hand, and then I'm going to take this one to the machine and just stitch over those lines in black, and I'll go over them 2 times. So there I have my little mouth line in place, my 2 little eyelashes, and you can see I've just drawn in a couple of whiskers there. Now you can draw in as many as you like. Because I'm working with a darker fabric, if I extend my whiskers out, I'm not going to see them anyway. So I've just drawn just 2 on each side, little short whiskers that aren't going to interfere with any of my other stitching. So I'll just do the same with those and just stitch those in place on the machine. So now I've got my little whiskers in place, and I'm just taking my double thread in a pink, and I'm just going to cover my little nose template with some parallel stitches. So I've just come in at the very base there. I've got a knot at the back, and it's really just about making sure that those stitches don't twist. So keep them nice and straight and laying them over that template, pulling that one in, make sure they're both pulled in evenly, and I'm just going to work my stitches this side and this side just to cover. They don't have to be all close together. You can have them showing some of that little felt underneath if you like, and we'll just cover that template and then tie a knot off at the back. So there you can see my little nose plate is just covered there, little template covered, and I have added my little safety eyes with my little washers on the back. If you are using buttons, you can just sew those now on into place, just right where those little eyelashes start. So our little front is all made up, so we're ready to put this little one together. So we're just going to take the back, and it's just right sides together, and we're just going to match that one up, especially at the bottom there. Use your little clips or pins, and we're just going to match that one up all the way around. And take that one to the machine, and I like to sew it 2 times just for strength, so I can really pack that little one tight. And it's a 4 millimeter seam allowance. We start at the bottom here and we sew right the way around those little ears down to the other side. Make sure you're back and forth here at your start and your finish. My seam is sewn right the way around, and I have gone ahead and just trimmed that seam with my pinking shears. If you don't have pinking shears, be sure to just do some little snip notches in your very tight curves just before we turn that one through, which we will do now. Once we have that one turned through, now all we need to do is fill him up with our polyester filling. And we want to pack him quite firm so that he can stand up on his own. But first of all, start off, I'm going to use my forceps and make sure that you get those little ears filled out really well. And pay special attention to them as we fill him up. Make sure that that stuffing isn't slipping down as you go. So we'll pack both of those ears nice and tight, and then make your way down, fill him all the way up nice and firm. And I'm going to be using my wool felting needles as I go, just to pack that filling in. And we're going to fill him right up to the top, just a tiny little way from the edge there. So there I have my little bodies all filled nicely right to the top there, and you can see that I've packed that fibre in using my felting needle, so I've got it nice and firm and a nice little flat surface there. See, that's nice and firm. And my next step is to sew using a double thread of my extra strong thread. I have gone around the little base there and sewn a little running stitch reasonably close together all the way around, left my tail ends hanging, and I'm going to pop my little wooden disc in there. So whether you have a cardboard one or a wooden one, we just pop that one in there. We're going to push that down nice and flat, and we're going to draw up our threads, and we're simply going to knot that one off. So you want to pull that one in. It doesn't have to go right the way in. We're going to be actually covering that little one with our final felt disc as we have here, but we want to draw it in as far in as we can. So a couple of double knots, and then you can even go around again. I've still got my needle on, so I can go around again, tie it off again so that it's nice and secure. So there I have gone around the second time, and that's nicely sealed off. So our final step is to add our little base. So I've just used my clear craft glue there, something suitable for fabric, and pop some glue all over the base there, and it's just a matter of popping that one into place, making sure that's right in the center there. And we want to go around and make sure that all of those edges are all nicely sealed. And then we will just pop that one aside for around about 10-15 minutes to fully dry. Then we're going to come back and do our final stitching. So my little disc is all dry now, and I can go ahead and sew a blanket applique stitch around the entire base. And I've just got my single strand of pearl thread in black, and I've just hidden my little knot in between those two layers there, and I've come out right on the edge of that fabric there. And my stitches I'm going to make probably around about 4 millimeters, and you can see that I've come in at the base and I've come out, and I've taken some of that fabric there, pull that one in. Each time making sure that I'm taking some of that fabric from that little base of that doll there, and that's going to secure that little disc, and it just gives it a nice finishing edge. If you've got quite a colourful project, of course you can use a lovely contrasting thread, and that will mark it out beautifully. But I'm just going to make my way around and create that lovely binding stitch along there that will hold that all together. And there we have little kitty all finished, little base in place there now. Don't they look fabulous? Perfect little item for making for craft fairs, craft markets. I'm absolutely happy for any of you to make up my patterns and sell them, whether that be online or out in your community. anything that helps you along. That's my way of, another way I can pay it forward for you all. If you have enjoyed making this little kitty, perhaps have a look at the little bunny. Perhaps make them all. Have a whole tribe, really beautiful for babies' rooms too. So make them up in so many colours. I hope you've enjoyed this quick little project. Well, thank you all for sewing with me today. I've enjoyed making something that was a really quick and easy little project. I hope you have too. If you have, you could give me a thumbs up. That would be beaut. Remember to subscribe. We've got probably some more little kawaii style dolls coming up. Of course, I'm working on a teacup and saucer that's on the way. So many other projects, some little mini quilts I'm looking to, and also, I hate to say it, but there's going to be some Christmas things coming up. I know, I can't believe it, it's coming upon us. But looking forward to bringing you so many new patterns and designs. Thank you all for your beautiful comments. You really keep me going. I love seeing your pictures, so you can follow me on Instagram and send me pictures. Show me what you're making with my patterns. That's very exciting for me to see. I'll pin them on my special Pinterest board and show them off to the world. So, most of all, everybody, all of those good things, find a way to pay them forward, because we all can. Till next time, it's Huru from me.